Good morning and welcome back to the Livingston Parish News Morning Show. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you joining us this morning. If you're watching us live, thanks for that. If you are watching this later, the video, or listening to the audio, we appreciate that as well. Please remember that the news is on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We are also in print once a week on If you ever post later, you can catch all of them. They are free at www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast. We have our morning shows there. It's also where we put our long-form podcast. Please remember that we did cancel our afternoon show. We weren't quite catching the traction that we were hoping to get. So we, again, appreciate you joining us this morning. Let's jump into your traffic real quick. Not as bad as it was yesterday. Intermittent delays on I-12 westbound heading into Baton Rouge. Small delays backed up just past Pete's Highway, but not quite to Jubin Road, which is a plus over yesterday. Intermittent delays, as mentioned, after you get past the Amite River heading into the 10-12 split. Minor delays at 190 4-H Club Road and River Road, where they come together in Denham Springs. Minor delays on 64 heading into Central. People are starting to funnel out of Watson, heading down 16 into the Denham Springs area. They will run into traffic on 16 as folks are getting their kids to school at Denham Springs High. Heavy delays on Hatchell Lane if you're heading out of North Denham Springs, trying to come down that way. Of course, kids try to go to Denham Springs Junior High, as well as some traffic delays at the Freshman High in Walker and 447, where those come together as folks are coming out of those subdivisions north of Walker and trying to get out of the high school and Freshman High to get on 447 to go to the interstate. Also, some minor delays at Arnold Road and 447. Weather today, it's currently 55 degrees. 74 is your high. It's going to get steadily warmer through Thursday, as we mentioned. You're looking at lows in the mid to high 50s, low 60s, and then highs getting up nearly to 80. Then a band of rain is going to come through on Thursday and cool it all off, and we're going to return to more of the 40 to 50 range, and maybe even some low 30s at night. So be prepared for that. But 2 beautiful days here coming up today. Lovely weather outside. Tomorrow going to be very nice as well. A reminder, Highway 16, those of you living north of Denham Springs or in Watson, will have nightly lane closures beginning tonight at 8 p.m. They run until 5 a.m. every day. One lane will be open, but DOTD recommends that you maybe find another way around by taking Cockram to Lockhart and then back up to 16. Those lane closures are so that the DOTD crews can patch the road. A Denham Springs man was arrested in Houma for stealing a electric cart from Walmart and driving it down the street so he wouldn't get a DUI. Clever, I suppose, but unfortunately he was still arrested for stealing, and I think he still got a DUI as well. The beginning of the Jubin Road widening project has gotten underway. I'm throwing my pen this morning, but I got it back. The city of Walker has applied or has put out a bid process for moving their gas lines that run along Jubin Road that currently supply Jubin Crossing and Jubin Marketplace with natural gas. That is the first step. If you know anything about infrastructure projects, most of them require first phase is utility relocation to get them out of the way. Well, the state has told us, the city of Walker, we're widening Jubin Road, time for you to move your utilities. There will be some time before they get started on Jubin Road. The actual widening of the road is phase 2 of the project. You can read about it online on our website, www.livingstonparishnews.com/news. The first phase of the project is adding 2 lanes on either side of the Jubin Road 190 intersection on 190. So there'll be at least a section of 190 that will be 4-laned, and then installing the roundabout there at Jubin Road and 190. Then they will begin working on widening Jubin Road itself. So we're still looking at some time before that starts, but Walker, while they had the money, while they had the time, wanted to go ahead and bid this out and get their gas lines moved out of the way. So Jubin Road widening is coming, and we are now into the initial stages of that. And talking about arterial roads and that sort of thing, the Master Planning Committee will meet tonight at 6 p.m. in the Parish Council chambers, and they will be talking about the economic corridor, which is the target of infrastructure improvements and development and zoning for the master plan committee. It is the zone is about 1.5 miles north and south of I-12. The idea is that trying to attract industry and business to that area, and what they're looking at now is what roads need to be installed, improved, that sort of thing. Cook Road Extension is on that list. However, a lot of that is based on the state. That's a state project. Jubin Road widening is on that list. However, again, that is a state project. So kind of waiting for those. Another interesting point of reference for that road list is 449, extending it all the way to the interstate, giving those 18-wheelers from the Walker Industrial Park a second means of egress or getting onto the interstate. So that should be an interesting project. See if they can come up with that. It would run probably in between some of those subdivisions and the Mount Walker, i.e. in a landfill. So the Master Plan Committee will be discussing roads tonight and road improvement plan. The reason plans are important is because if you have a master plan in place and DOTD comes in, you can say, yes, these are the places that we've identified that need to be improved, need to be worked on. DOTD is a lot more apt to listen to you than they would be if they just came in and you said, we want roads. Well, good for you. What are the roads that you need? Also identified were more east-west running roads, especially into Baton Rouge, but those are some pie-in-the-sky dreams that may or may not come anytime soon. So that's the Master Plan Committee meeting tonight. Cynthia and Dennis Perkins are currently going through the court system. Her hearing is this Thursday at 9 a.m. with Judge Brenda Ricks. However, Mr. Dennis Perkins, is not until December 19th at 1 p.m. Why are they so different? Well, part of the reason is the only judge that was available to hear their 313 or Gwynn's Law hearings was Judge Charlotte Foster. She was the only one available. What you have here is that the 21st Judicial District Court, the judges rotate, right? It's Livingston Parish, St. Helena Parish, and Tangipahoa Parish. So Ms. Charlotte Foster was the only one available in Livingston within the time limit set by Gwynn's Law, which is 5 business days, not including holidays. So no weekends, no holidays, to go ahead and have those hearings. What they are is bond set hearings. When you are arrested on domestic violence, you have to go through a 313 hearing to see if it was just maybe some one-off because you had an argument with somebody, or if you were truly a danger to yourself and others. It was deemed that they both were. They have waived their right to bond at this time. However, they have held their right to petition for a bond set at a later date. Now, their preliminary hearings are so far apart because of the judge schedule that we just talked about. Judge Ricks had an opening on the docket on November 7th. Her lawyer, that would be Miss Cynthia's lawyer, had no complaints about that, no motion to extend. So they will go ahead and begin their preliminary delivery of evidence and, determine whether or not they are going to take it to trial. Dennis Perkins, however, his lawyer, due to his schedule and the judge's schedule, pushed it to the docket in December. That would be that December 19th date at 1 p.m. His lawyers also made it very clear that they will be going to trial, and he believes that his client is innocent. So we will see how these things go forward, but they have both taken very different routes through the court system. For instance, Ms. Cynthia Perkins, for her 313 hearing, was alone in front of Judge Foster when she came in on Monday morning. That'd be at 9 a.m. When he came in Wednesday at 9 a.m., he actually didn't make it in until 10 a.m. because he came in during regular civil court. So there are a lot of people coming in and pleading before the judge, lawyers going in and out, that sort of thing. It was kind of crazy. So it was two very different circumstances there, two very different follow-up circumstances there, most of it having to do with judges' schedules and their availability. So that's, remember, November 7th, that would be this Thursday, she will be on trial, and December 19th, he will be on trial. That would be Cynthia and Dennis Perkins. The Denham school system, or the Denham portion of the school system, we talked about how schools are funded, right? It's hyper-local, just, it's all about millages collected in that area and a 1.5 cent sales tax collected in that area determines kind of what you can do within your school system. and you have to hold on to a certain amount of money. You have to do certain renovations every summer, that sort of thing. Denham is required to hold on to about $7 million a year. That's for catastrophic incidences where, say a storm comes through and they've got to be able to put down some seed money to rebuild a school or something like that. It's both a requirement by the legislative auditor as well as just good practice for bond issuances that sets your bond rating. The Denham Springs School District also has an extra millage on the books for school construction. However, we came forward and spoke with Superintendent Joe Murphy, some of the board members in Denham Springs, that kind of thing, and determined that the new schools, Denham Springs Elementary and the Southside Mega Campus, it doesn't matter how schools are funded because FEMA and HUD are funding those schools. $80 million new dollars in real estate because the school system jumped through a lot of hoops trying to get full funding for these projects, and they did. So FEMA covers 90%, and then they jumped in with HUD to get the extra 10%. You can read the full story at www.livingstonparishnews.com/news, but it is important to note that those two campuses came at no cost to the system themselves, unless there are additions that the school board members and those school administrators agreed to, which will come out of the Denham Springs portion of the school system funds. So no cost to the system itself on those schools. Talking about volleyball playoffs, we have 3 teams in the mix: Walker, Live Oak, and Springfield. Walker Lady Cats drew a 32 seed. They will go visit Mount Carmel. This is ending an 8-year volleyball drought. So that will be Friday in New Orleans. Denham Springs Volleyball doesn't have to go far. They're going to Dutchtown in Ascension. For the second straight year, they're going to the playoffs. They are a number 29 seed. They play Thursday. Another one on Friday in Division 4. Springfield, number 25, goes to Sacred Heart of New Orleans. So we got 2 teams going to New Orleans to play a little volleyball on Friday. Keep an eye on them. Saturday was the Veterans Parade. We did get that photo gallery up for you. Celebrating the life of veterans, what they've sacrificed for us. They had a parade run down Burgess Road, going all the way to Sidney Hutchinson Park, and then they had sort of a family-friendly event there. There is a story and a photo gallery up at www.livingstonparishnews.com/living. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Cam Jordan of the Saints. He is a defensive end, came and visited Albany schools last week. We've talked about it a lot, but Mr. David Gray got the story up where, Mr. Jordan talked about how busy his day was. It's usually about 6:30 to 6:30 on practice days. And he said that the most important part of all that is staying healthy and eating healthy and working out and making sure that he can stay focused, because it's, you come in, there's meeting, where you have to learn all these things. Then you go implement them for a little bit, and then you lift weights, and then you meet. So there's a lot of meetings. It's a lot of cerebral things going on there. Have to stay in shape, have to stay focused, especially when you get out there on the field. These are NFL guys. They're all moving quick. So we brought that message to Albany and said, if you eat right, you exercise right, and you treat your body right, you can do all the things that you need to do well, and that includes school. So that was the message that Mr. Jordan brought to Albany schools. It's a good message. And then he did some fun little NFL drills with some of the kids, and then he took off. So thank you, David, for going out to that. Thank you for the Saints for sending him, and thank you for Mr. Jordan for coming to Albany schools. One last time around the bend with your traffic starting to stack up on I-12 westbound. Still some intermittent delays, but starting to get past Pete's Highway on those delays, hold-ups, whatever you want to call it. The traffic is backed up past Pete's Highway. Starting to get heavy on Rushing Road, River Road, and 190. More traffic starting to filter into that area as folks seem to be filing out of Watson and Walker as kids have been dropped off at school. Still some minor delays on 16 in front of Denham Springs High School. Still some minor delays on Hatchell as kids drop their as parents drop their kids drop their parents off, right? As parents drop their kids off at Denham Springs Junior High. And right now, the most clear way into Baton Rouge looks to be 64. However, there are heavy delays on Greenville Springs if you decide to take a left there after you cross the river. Weather today, it is 55 degrees. Currently, 74 is your high. Going to be warming up a little bit today and tomorrow. Then we will get some heavy rains on Thursday, which are bringing in some cooler weather as we starting to kind of get used to the cold here. But I'm sure around Thanksgiving it will get warm. Once again, my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you joining us this morning on the Livingston Parish News Morning Show. Remember, you can get these online for free, www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast if you ever miss one of these live versions. We also put our long-form podcast there, as well as our morning shows. We have video and audio versions of both. We are also on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We are also once a week in print on Thursdays. It's magazine style. Thanks again for joining us this morning. We hope you have a wonderful Tuesday here on a beautiful day, and we will see you tomorrow.